Grand Rising, beautiful beings. It is Friday today in man's calendar, and it is a new moon at I think 11:38 a.m. something like that today in Virgo, and it's been an interesting energy build up to this new moon. I'm going to do a card reading later, and I'll put that up on the website. But it's been an interesting week, to say the least, and I feel like I keep getting tested, and I don't you know, there are times when you just got to stop and look at yourself and go, okay, what's the lesson for me in this, and how to move yourself through the range of emotions. So, you know, finding out that just people behaving, I don't want to say badly, but behaving unconsciously, or behaving what they perceive to be righteous, but in actual fact it's not. It's judgment, and we all do it, including me. That's when we know we're in ego. So when you get hit by anything, whether it's a rumor, whether it's an actual event, or whether it's and it's about you, and it's not necessarily in a positive light, how we process can make a huge difference. A friend once told me that there's 1% of truth in everything, and whenever there's conflict or whenever we're in opposition, it's like a human tendency to want to paint yourself as the innocent party, but we know there's always three sides to the truth. Your story, their story, and the true story, and it tends to be a blend of the two, not just one. So it's taking ownership of your own role in whatever has gone down, not pointing the finger, because whenever we point the finger, there's three fingers pointing back. So whenever we keep pointing the finger, we're shooting that energy, we're shooting our beliefs, we're shooting our vibration, our emotions, we're shooting it out into the universe, into the energy, into the ether, and of course it's going to keep coming back to us, because that's what we're putting out. It's pointing that finger. So just be mindful when pointing fingers, and be mindful of how it is you treat other people. That always tends to come back and bite us on the ass. And I feel like I've been bitten on the ass, and this is where my tendency is, because I can bite back. And that's the ego urge, or the wounded self urge, or and it's true. I probably have a right to bite back and share my side of the story and speak my truth, but at the end of the day, they're not my people. They were never my people, and they're not going to be my people, because we just have completely different sets of standards, and we've got completely different ways of being and doing things and seeing the world, and that's okay. It's not right, wrong, better, worse. It's different. So you realize, when you get to know yourself and your vibe and live by your values, which is the steps to self-love, that yes, you are going to inadvertently butt up against people and places and things and events and experiences to work it out. How else are you going to work it out? I don't think it comes that easy. So fighting the urge to go on the bite back path, instead just go, no, it's okay. It's just spirit is showing me again, that's the line in the sand. That's done. That's severed, never going back, never to be done again. That's it. And it's like there's no other greater way than having these negative things that happen to show you, oh, stop it. Stop wanting to be friends with everyone, because it just doesn't work out that way. And then you do being uncomfortable within yourself, and for me, misbehaving. We all misbehave. We're not fucking angels or nuns. We are wounded people walking on a planet that's got a very dysfunctional system. Anyway, I do digress. I do squirrel. So I'm giving thanks this new moon for that which is leaving my life, that which has left my life, that which is done. And thank you so much for the lessons, and thank you so much for the experiences, because that's the growth. That's when you start to springboard, and you have to, or you don't have to, free will and choice. Like I said, you can stay in victim mode, or you can want to do something different, because I want to feel different. I want to have a different life experience. So shifting through those is growth for me. Shifting through those is that self-correction, that self-awareness, and even that apologizing for my part in things. That's really important, because none of us are taught to repair or remedy, or some are, some aren't. I wasn't taught how to repair or remedy. It was sweep it under the carpet and let's not talk about it, and it's always your fault and you're wrong, and you just end up twisting yourself inside out to try and appease everybody. Especially being an empath, you want to feel that comfortableness around you as well, that you do yourself an injustice. And so there comes a time when we've got to start embodying the truth. We've got to walk the talk in a deeper level and in new awareness, a new embodiment. This is the spiraling. We come back around and we go, oh, I can sink a bit deeper into this. Because I think we're always going to have triggers. Whenever we're in society, and especially a traumatized post-war society, we're going to butt up against one another. But we're not taught how to repair or remedy. We're not taught how to accept, allow, and just have boundaries and make different choices. That's something that I'm learning. So instead of pointing the finger and saying, you need to change, it's like, oh, I need to move on. Not a judgment. It just saves a lot of heartache. It saves a lot of conflict. It saves a lot of pain and suffering. It's like, where's the logic, the rational? It's like, let's start bringing back some of the logic, some of the rational that is based on universal principles, spiritual law, based on truth, based on open mind, open heart, but boundaries. So it's been a big journey. I'm always learning about myself, and I'm always learning about other people, and that helps me to understand, especially coming to the realization that I am under the spectrum, that I see and perceive and be in the world differently to the mainstream. And because it's not a visible, and I'm not going to call it a disability because it's such a gift, but the world's not ready to be able to adapt to other people's gifts, the different ways that we do things, the different ways that we interface and interact, see the world, believe of the world. There's not a lot of allowances made for those that are a bit different and think a bit different. Anyway, hence seeds of change. Hence the 7 seeds of change that walk us to self-love. And the first one is self-reflection. We've touched on that. That seed takes root and it blossoms into self-awareness. So we get to ask ourselves questions. We get to find out who we are and why. And then comes the self-acceptance. And the self-acceptance is self-knowing and self-soothing. And so try self-compassion. So I'll just quickly touch back on self-acceptance, because this is part of the process I've been going through, is just realizing, okay, well, they're not my people. That's the whole thing. That's why it's come down to this. You can't teach people what they're not ready to embody, what they're not ready to learn. You can't change people when you can see a different way of thinking or being could completely shift their life and lift them up and have a different experience. And just different ways of thinking, being and behaving. And so this is me learning to accept, okay, well, the mistakes I've made and the corrections I've made, the repair and remedy I've made, and the changes I've made. That's the self-acceptance, that's the self-knowing, that's also owning my part in whatever conflict or experiences go on. That's showing me, so not trying to get stuck down or locked in to the mind, that just wants to regurgitate, ruminate, have conversations that you never probably will end up having, is not going into that mind, but having that higher awareness. This is what I call language of the birds, is having that high perspective, so you can see a bigger picture, a bigger story, but through a spiritual lens. The teachings, the laws, the understandings of, okay, well, what are you here for? What do you believe, what your purpose is? What are your self-values? And what are you living by? Come back to that, because that'll be your guide. And then with that in mind, you just realize, okay, they weren't my people, and I am my own person, and I have those around me that are my family, soul family, and closest friends, and that's really for all of us. I think we can operate under false conceptions about relationships and people, and at the end of the day, we're alone inside. There's no one else in there. It's just us doing the things that we're doing, thinking the things that we're doing, saying the things that we're saying, and only we suffer the consequences. Only we suffer the repercussions. So it's very interesting how we are all connected through the network, through energies, through many ways, on many dimensions. And yet we're also separate. We're also individual. So it's learning to accept yourself. So self-acceptance in the dictionary means the state of understanding and recognizing one's own abilities and limitations. So self-acceptance is understanding and recognizing your own abilities, your own gifts, your own blessings, but it's also your limitations, where maybe you're stunted in growth, where it's maybe not a strength of yours. I don't want to call it a weakness, but it's just not a strength. It's a limitation. And we all have those as well. So through the reflection and awareness seeds, through practice and perseverance, you'll come to know your thoughts and whys. This is the time of complete honesty and transparency. So no lying to yourself. It's like you can sit there and look in the mirror and own everything that's looking back at you. Own everything that's come out of you, out there. Own it. So that any thoughts that are limiting, self-harming, destructive, or self-serving only, and self-sabotage, are giving the acceptance that once served you, but to create a different outcome, those thoughts need to change. The self-acceptance seed is not about judging our thoughts or criticizing our thoughts, as that's just akin to throwing fuel on the proverbial fire, and you know it. There's no way you're going to open up to yourself, and there's no way you're going to shift and change with that mindset of looking at that aspect or behavior or thought or pattern in a negative way. We've got to pause that, and then we've got to open it, well, not open it, look at it with curiosity, look at it with sorry, just someone's calling me on my phone, so I'm just going to... Hello Megan, beautiful. How are you, sister? It's a beautiful day. Our stories are our past, and this seed is about correcting those thoughts to thoughts that are self-soothing and based on compassion for the story that we have lived, because we've all lived a story, whether we've played a role in it or not, or it's completely happened to us blindsided. It's in the past. It's not now. So the more that we hold on to things, and the more that we make the past the basis of our living, of our choices, of our intentions, even bringing that into it, it's not going to have a good outcome. It's not. So we've got to remember what's in the past is past, and we wipe the slate clean and go, okay, well, that didn't work, so let's try something different. Instead of bringing that grudge with us, or bringing that pain body with us, or bringing those narratives that we've got attached to our memories with us, because that's just going to muddy the waters. That's just going to muddy the way forward. It's like, ooh, wipe that clean. Okay, what worked, what didn't work. You don't want to drag what didn't work. And what did work, well, then you could evolve that, build upon that, because that's got more of a rock solid foundation. But it takes transparency. It takes you being really honest with yourself. To create a different future, we need to rewrite I'm having trouble, the narrative we have associated with our past, so that our present becomes a foundation of self-mastery rather than one based on victim mindset or fear. This is where the journaling practice assists in knowing what those thoughts are. And over time, the more you practice that, you don't need a pen and pen. You can become the observer. And for a lot of people, it actually feels trippy. It feels like you are actually losing your mind when you start to hear yourself and you start to recognize yourself, and you maybe even start to hear your guides and things like that. It's or that wisdom that comes in, like from literally what feels like nowhere. That you don't need pad and pen, that it starts to flow because you've strengthened that pathway, you've strengthened that behavior, you strengthen that gift. So by accepting yourself, this plants the fourth seed and the linchpin to it all, self-respect. So accepting yourself is accepting the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, the mistakes, the blessings, the curses, the corrections, all those things. Is accepting it and self-soothing and self-correcting what needs to. It's not accepting and then still behaving that way. That's not growth at all. That is not steps to self-love. You're stuck in a pattern then. The steps to self-love is to actually keep moving through them, not repeat. So self-respect is self-worth and self-care. Try living by your values. True self-care is not soft baths and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life you don't need to regularly escape from. True self-care is not soft baths and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life you don't need to regularly escape from. So that means you're actually living the life that you love, living the life of your dreams. You're where you want to be. And I asked those questions the other day. Are you happy? Are you happy with your life? Are you happy where you are? Happy in your relationships? Are you happy with your choices? Are you happy with your attitude? Are you happy with how you treat people? Are you happy with anything? And if not, why not? And what are you going to do about it? So that's self-caring. Self-respect in the dictionary means a feeling that one is behaving with honor and dignity. Honor and dignity. I must be so old-fashioned, or I've just lived past lives before, because honor and dignity are high values for me in behavior, words, actions, and deeds. And it doesn't always come across that way from the outside in, but from the inside out, it is having that honor and dignity, is raising the bar of truth, is trying to rise above these concepts and constructs that man has created, that we live by, that keeps us so small, in victim, in judging, especially judging, and then not communicating. The passive-aggressive behavior in this world is off the charts. And then criticizing or judging someone for not being a mind reader, judging or criticizing somebody because they're not the way you want them to be, or they didn't do what you wanted them to do. That's pretty much how we all live. And when you think about it, when you hear it like that, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. So it's like trying to bring back honor and dignity is within yourself. And then you've got to live that in the world. And then that holds a certain frequency and vibration. And then with that, you will start to attract those that want to walk in honor and dignity, and so on and so forth. So then you get to know your vibe, you get to know your tribe. It comes back to what I was saying earlier. They're not my people. So it doesn't matter because they're not my people. The first three seeds lead you to here, to self-respect, self-reflection, self-awareness, self-acceptance. It's the only way. You've got to go through those three to even get to self-respect. You've got to know yourself to know what you're respecting. Can you respect yourself? Can you take ownership of your behavior and correct it and keep being a better version of yourself? This seed begins the recognition of the living being that is you, the essence that makes you you, beyond the human conditioning and exaggerated mind chatter. This seed sows the doing that change in behaviour based on the first 3 seeds. To self-respect is to act from your higher mind, what I call language of the birds. Not listen to the traumatized mind. In putting self-respect into action, it begins the healing of the traumatized aspects. To know that underneath it all, you are a good person. Underneath all the human mistakes and errors and behaviors and all of us, well, maybe not some, not one, those that are born from the dark, live in the dark and choose the dark. They would think themselves as being the best versions of themselves too, wouldn't they? It's interesting, isn't it? But we're not talking about those kind of people. I'm talking about the ones that have had a lot of stuff done to them, around them, from them, to them, about them. That has traumatized, that has been damaging, that has been painful, that has not been helpful, has not been healing, that it's been harmful and painful and traumatizing. But you know underneath it all that you are a good person. You do not choose to maliciously go out and hurt people. You don't maliciously go out to diminish another. You don't deliberately go out to badmouth someone to put yourself in a better position. You know you're a good person, that you're trying to do the best you can with the information you have based on the story you've lived. Even the choices that have caused harm, whether to self or others, you are a good person. That your worth is not based on past action or experiences, but rather on the choices you make now. So your worth is based on the choices you make now. Self-respecting is a seed that shifts it all into action, from all that self-reflection, self-awareness, self-accepting. This is now us, with all that information, putting it into our everyday mundane lives. Find out what your values are so that you can start living by them. Acting and behaving as though your values matter. Otherwise, why are they your values? Let's act like they matter, what your values are, as they do matter. And the link is the DeMartini Institute. So if you do want the link, or I can just share it underneath the live as well. So if you want to do the values test to find out what they are, so you can start living by them. I did that in my early 50s and I laughed because it's healing, helping and spirituality were my top 3. And I was like, oh, well, that makes total sense because that's what, that's how I live. So it was really good seeing it in black and white on paper. I don't know why, but it just did. We all hold different values in regards to our lives, our internal private world, and those things and people we care about. Values are as unique to each individual as your fingerprint and energy signature. The gift in knowing your values is the opportunity to honour them and live in integrity and not cognitive dissonance. So it is, it's like your values are so unique to you based on your likes and dislikes, based on your strengths and weaknesses, based on your desires and based on what draws you, based on what calls you, based on what lights your pilot light and flames you and gives you passion and goals and desires, and tapping into that and living by those. No matter what they are, because people don't have to understand them. You've got to get to know your own and live by them, not other people's, because their values obviously suit them for where they're at with the information they have and the story that they've lived. What are your values? What are you living by? It makes a big difference. And when we don't live in those, and that's when the cognitive dissonance happens, because there's that part of yourself that's telling you, this is not right, you don't do this, you don't like this, but you're doing another thing because of this retarded thinking, thought, or this belief that's now based on trauma and your past and your history that's directing the show. So living by your values shows yourself that you value yourself. So the why you live your life is in alignment with how you live your life. So the why you're living your life is alignment with how you're living your life. This shows yourself that what you believe in, what change you wish to see in the world, matters to you enough that you start to walk towards it. Baby steps is enough to get you going. Ask yourself, how can I shift my daily routine around to create enough time and space to not only honor my values, but put them into action as well. So ask yourself, how can you shift your daily routine, your priorities around to start creating enough time and space so that you can honor your values and put them into action as well. And an affirmation is, nothing can diminish my inherent value. I am the divine self incarnate, like and equal to everybody else. My existence on this planet is its own justification of worth. I'll say that one again. I really like that one. That's how I'm going to finish. It's really good for me to read and embody as well. Nothing can diminish my inherent value. I am the divine self incarnate, like and equal to everyone else. My existence on this planet is its own justification of my worth. Me just being born inherently just gives me worth. Whether I believe it or not, whether other people believe it or not, just being alive gives you worth. And what that worth is up to you by, I guess, how you do live that life. And I can only allow other people to diminish my value by allowing that thought. It actually doesn't happen in physical reality. That's just a feeling. That's just an embodiment. That's just a feeling of allowing what I'm perceiving, what I'm thinking, to be true. And I don't know that. So I'm going to respect not just myself, but respect the teachings, get my wounded self out of the way, love her and honor her and talk positively to her, and not take the other stuff on board, and keep on keeping on. So blessed moon, new moon, blessed new moon today in Virgo. Virgo is very grounding. Can be a hard taskmaster. If that makes sense then, doesn't it? And just remember, yes, self-respect, self-worth. Self-care is really important as well. And self-care it's not just hot chocolates and hot bars. It's that self-care is, how do you feel about yourself? And really making sure that how you speak about yourself and how you're living is in alignment with self-care, that you do care about yourself. And it just gives you that softer, gentler approach. We're all here learning and growing. Very trying times, and you can just see timelines. I can just see completely jump tracks now. That's it. And it's all and that's in alignment with other things that is happening in my life as well. So it's very funny how it's now just gone completely chung, the jumping timelines. So that's where I've now got to focus. And so I encourage everybody to keep your focus on where you're heading yourself, not what's going on over there or going on over there, or what's going on behind you in the past, or even, what other people are doing. It's like, oh, where are you heading? Where are your tracks going? Are they zigzagging back over past tracks, or are you just going, that's it, that's my direction forward, let's go, let's see where that takes us. You never know what's around the corner. I used to be afraid of what was around the corner. I didn't trust myself, hence these steps. And now I look really look forward to what's around the corner, because it's however I perceive it, what energy I put out now, I'm going to meet around the corner. And it comes back to that being free inside ourselves. We may not be free in life, in the way we live, but we are definitely free inside of how we perceive our world, what we think about ourselves. And like I said, the world could be falling down around you, could be burning, and you could still be, I'm okay, this too shall pass, I'm a good person, and I'm finding my way. Sending so much love. Thank you for watching, Megan. I hope you have a beautiful day, sister. Big hugs. Let's go for another walk soon. That would be so good for my soul. So signing off. Have a beautiful day. Aho, amen. So mote it be.